Hi, hello my pupils. Welcome to Hypocrisy of the World. Today we're starting a new episode. We're talking about transgenderism. This is a very complicated word to say. I don't know if you guys also struggle with that word, but I had a little issue with that word, so I'm not going to use it that much in that video. We're going to talk about the hypocrisy behind this concept and ideology. You guys know that I'm always questioning everything, and I think the question that we're going to be asking ourselves in this video is transgenderism a concept that is inclusive for everybody, or is it just like an ideology of separatism? So let's just hit this one. We're gonna be using, of course, as always, different arguments that I will be putting on my phone here. You guys are gonna have it here on the screen, and we're gonna just like reacting to those videos and making our arguments to finally answer the question by the end of the video. Here we start.
Period. So, what again are you doing? Like, you care to claim about women so much because trans people in the bathroom is so scary.
My claim
what
here
are we doing
is
in other areas?
my actual claim here is that transgenderism is false and we should eradicate it from public life because it's harmful to everyone.
Okay.
That's my actual. If you want to talk about the claim, we're actually
debating.
Then. Yeah.
What does transgenderism in public look like to you?
It's allowing men to be treated for the purposes of the law as women. It's men taking 900 sports trophies from women in recent years.
And they didn't take 900.
They took 900. There's a report just came out from the United Nations, actually. 890 trophies and medals across 600 women who were competitors, across 29 different sports and 400 competitions. That came out like yesterday.
And they deserved them.
It didn't happen, and they deserve them. Okay, that is the logic I hear from the pro-trans crowd. Yeah.
Thank you. They do deserve them.
This is so true. When you're debating with someone on the left or someone liberals, they will always say the opposite, and then after, when it served their purpose, they will say, "Oh yeah, but it's making sense because we own that." So it's like I disagree with that. They say like, "Oh, it never happens," and then after, when they really they need that to happen to serve their purpose, they will say, "Oh yeah, but if it happened, it's because it was supposed to happen because they deserve that." This is exactly what she said. But let's just go back to the beginning of the video. So basically, the guy, I think his name is Michael, is saying like his claim on that subject that he was invited, I think, on Jubilee was about transgenderism, and he was saying like transgenderism should be an ideology who has to be eradicated. So he's not talking about people, but the ideology itself. And they say like we have to eradicate that ideology because it's not serving any purpose, because it's actually undermining the stature of women, and women are actually the first category of individuals who are suffering more about this, suffering more because of that ideology. And then he's saying like we should just like stop that bullshit, which I agree with. And then the woman is saying like, okay, since you're so afraid about transgenders, and then in public way, how does it manifest to you? What you're going to be doing about that? And then he's giving an example, which is a fact. It has been a research that has been published by the United Nations, was saying like literally since this ideology has become so big and so shared over the world, a lot of women have lost opportunities in sport because they have lost medals and recognition towards transgenders, people who have came and just literally took all those opportunities and took all of these medals and awards in sports competitions for women that was supposed to be then in their own field. And then he has facts on that. And then the first thing that she's saying is like, "Oh, it never happened." And then he said, yeah, it did happen. This is the research. And then it's been fact checked. And then after, she said, "Oh, but if it happened, then they deserve it. It didn't happen, or it happened and they deserve that." And what do you mean they deserve that? They're literally telling you like men, well-born men, are coming into women's competition, who are coming into women's field, and they're competing against them, and they're literally winning, and they're literally taking everything is possible to for them. They're literally leaving nothing left to the woman. And she's saying they deserve that. That if they deserve it so badly, if they were so good in their field, why they didn't just go and compete with other men? Why they coming and competing with people that biologically are inferior to them? Because we're men and women, we do not have the same strength, we do not have the same abilities, we do not have the same skills. And people will keep saying that it's not true, or just like lacking some logic or some knowledge or intelligence. Because you cannot just like saying those bullshit. You cannot just say a man and a woman are the same. They're not the same. If they were the same, we would have never had those differences and those individual competitions, or like men competitions and women competition. The fact that we have been able to divide those one and have every gender into their own field is because both genders do not have the same skills, the same abilities, and the same strength. That's why we actually separated us between men's sport and women's sport. And now with transgenderism is actually saying, oh no, but they deserve that. If they deserve that, they should have been into men's field. They should have been into men's sport. They should have not changed their parents, but know their biology and coming into women's sport and literally erased women records and become like transgender records into women field, which is insane. We have more women losing into their own field and men biologically men winning into female sport. I don't know if people are understanding that. This is shocking in the fact that in a space that is only been dedicated for women, we have men coming into it and stealing women prize. They're stealing women records. They're breaking what has been done by women generation after generation and putting their own record in less than 10 years. And these people think like it's normal. Just because you don't want to talk about logic, you don't want to recognize the fact that into your own ideology, into your own community, there is stuff that is wrong. You are just being like completely blind and agreeing with everything and saying they deserve it. They do not deserve to come into a field that has not been made for them and erase the generation of records and hard work made by women because they're biologically men. No, they did not deserve that. And if you're saying that, you are just being unfair and you're just being blind and kind of like hypocrite. And what are we fighting here? Hypocrisy.
My next claim is that transgenderism should be eradicated from public life entirely.
Hi.
Hello.
Blossom. She, her, hers powerhouse.
The Blossom Powerhouse, lovely to meet you.
Yes. Go ahead. I want to know your ideology around transgenderism, something that doesn't exist. It just sounds more like conservative propaganda. So I kind of want to know a little bit more about what you're trying to communicate.
Okay, I think for all of history everywhere, people have understood the human person to have something to have.
I like the fact she said, go ahead, and then she's actually the one started talking, and then she started talking by saying to him like he's doing a propaganda on something, which is just like him defending an opinion of something. It's not called propaganda. And then she called that conservative propaganda, which is kind of funny. But anyway, let's go to the claim.
Something to do with his body. So like your body has something to do with who you are. Now there is an alternative view, which is called Gnosticism. It's a view that our bodies don't really have anything to do with who we are, that the body is maybe even evil, and that our true selves have no connection to our bodies. And I see in the transgender ideology a kind of Gnosticism that says that you could look like a man, you could have a man's genetics, you could have a man's genitals, you could have a man's everything. But if you feel on some deep level that you're really a woman, then you are really a woman. And I don't think that's true. And I think that the social effects of that are really bad because it leads to the depriving women of their legitimate rights. In some cases, it leads to rapes.
Before we continue on that part, we're going to talk about rapes, and they're going to use a perfect argument, and she's just going to be like literally stupid and illogical and just using a very
notably in the last few years.
And by now, we have to agree on the fact that yes, I agree with him when he said that transgenderism is just an aspect of people thinking like their body is their personality, and then their body define them, and then apparently the lack of representation of your body. Your body is not something that defines you anymore. It's just like the emotion and feeling that you have that would be defining you. This concept is very, very factual with all ideology behind this, people, is the fact that they will say emotions, and we talk about that in the last video with trigger warnings, is the fact that emotions become facts, and then feelings become facts, and then because you're feeling a certain way, even if you literally, your body is telling you something else, you will be like imposing your feeling to everybody else and imposing your brain, your mind, and your way of thinking to everybody else, even if the facts outside is not going with what you're saying. You're literally a man, and everything that is your body is showing off the masculinity on you and the fact that you are this gender. Your emotions will be like above that reality, and then you will be able to express yourself through your feelings and not through your facts and science. And this is literally the problem into that ideology. They don't understand that it's constructed in the mind, and because it's something that is coming from your mind, it is not a fact. And then most of the time, every perception we can have with our mind, every idea can come from a mind, or what we call psychology traumas. And then this is something that is in fact a disease, in terms of like, it's a disease like in a psychological way. You are construing something not in the reality of the world, but lives in your mind, and your mind is not a fact. But let's keep going on the fact that it's going to be using one of the impact on transgenderism, which is like rapes, and especially men pretending to be women and actually harassing or even raping and violating women and making them feel uncomfortable, of course.
It also leads to women losing their sports competitions and their scholarships, and it's just disordered and false. And it also leads to more people adopting this identity, which leads to very high rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide. So it's bad for everyone, and it's not grounded in reality.
Oh, I don't.
On this fact, I also agree in the fact that most of the time people thinking with their mind and acting in a reality of their own, because they are literally living into their own perception of the world and into their own reality, they will develop more depression and more suicide intents, because they're actually not in a reality, and people doesn't want to bring them in the reality of life. So they actually assertive their issues and the trauma. So it's like you have someone in front of you fighting with something, and you're telling that person that what he's fighting with is just normal, is reality, and then you just like motivating him to stay into that fake reality, in that fake in that trauma, which is real trauma, and then purposing this endangering personality, and then increasing the risk of that trauma by making it go to the higher level, which is going to be depression, and then after even suicide. That's why we have so much suicide into that community, because they are not being acknowledged as people who are going through trauma, but people who should live into their own trauma and live into their own reality. And when you live into your own reality, you face to the world who doesn't want to accept your reality. You actually just increasing your loneliness, and then also all the impacts of loneliness will be then after depression and suicide.
I don't even think you understand what you say sometimes. I don't think you even understand what you say, because when we talk about these rape cases of women in the restroom, they're coming from cis men like you. So let's be very clear where it's coming from.
No, that's not true. In 2021,
excuse me, do not interrupt a black
well, I'm just trying to correct you.
I am so tired. First of all, you attack someone by saying like you have no understanding about what you're saying yourself. You literally just explain your full argument using facts and science, and you're telling him he doesn't understand. I don't understand your purpose, but let's move on this. And then second of all, she's saying something that's ridiculous. She's saying like the rape happening into women bathroom is made by cis men. Can we just acknowledge the fact that you're just literally telling me that those men are cis men, as you call them? Those are like biological men, but they're pretending to be women, literally like you are a man pretending to be a woman. So when those people that they say they're transgender enter to those woman spaces and decide to become women, and you guys believe them, and then after commit those crimes, when do we put the line? So because they commit these crimes, they're not transgenders anyway. Until they commit these crimes, they're going to be transgenders. So the idea of someone recognizing himself as something and defining himself something, and we all have to agree on that, is has a certain limit to the extension of what is going to happen after. So we need to agree on that until if something happened, then we say, oh no, but they were not transgender because they committed this one. We understand the lack of logic in this argument. We understand that this argument is based on bullshit. You cannot say one thing and the opposite in the same sentence. You cannot say transgenders are entitled to be recognize at what they feel, and at the same time say like that if they commit those things, they're not transgender anymore. They're just like cis men. This makes no sense. And then she said, "Do not interrupt black woman, black transgender." What the hell? I would interrupt any person, which is black, white, or whatever, especially if someone is yelling at me and screaming on my face. You should not have privileges because you're black. And the funny thing, like, she's talking about privilege, but she's asking him to give him privilege because she is a man and she is a black person, and because of that he deserves to be like receiving some privilege and not being interrupted because she is that, which is insane. You're telling people they have privilege and at the same time you're asking them to have the same thing towards you. But again, liberals and their mind always saying one thing and the opposite in just one sentence.
No, thank you. Here's the thing about me as a black trans woman. I am not a threat to cis women, and I think it is harmful that you are going around here spewing that rhetoric, weaponizing this rhetoric against trans people.
Weaponizing facts?
Transgenderism does not exist. We as trans people exist. We are 1% of the population.
Sorry, 1% of the population is very, very low. And no one else saying like you guys doesn't exist. We're just saying that what you're saying is not real. You guys are just people pretending to be other people. But you still exist because you're still people. We never said you were not people. We're just saying like what you're pretending to be is not real.
And there is a lot of power in the trans identity because you are sitting here spewing something to me that doesn't really
I'm not
exist.
spewing anything. I'm just stating facts plainly.
I have lived experience. You don't.
Oh my God. I have lived experience and you don't. Who the hell do you think you are? Apparently you are a black woman or a black trans woman or whatever you're calling yourself to, and because of that you do have more experiences than anyone else because you were born black in the body of a man who became a woman apparently in his own mind, and now you're entitled to be something above everybody else. You're not anything above anyone. Baby girl or baby boy, I don't even know how to call you because you're saying like you're a woman. You really look not like a woman. I am a woman. You guys, you really look like a dude. I don't want to be mean, but it's the fact. You really do look like a dude. But anyway, everybody have a lived experience. Just the fact of living give you a lived experience. So.
And you never will. But I do have a question.
I have
for
lived
you.
experience.
What if one of your
I'm alive.
what if one of your kids came out as trans? How would you
God
react
forbid.
to that?
Why they always have to go to this argument, this example of if one of person in your family became that, what would you do? Are we talking about our personal here? Or are we talking about facts? Who give a shit about what would I do if my son, my daughter, my mom, my sister, whoever, why would give a shit about that? We are talking about something that is impacting women in general, and you have to come to my personal because you have no arguments. That's the problem. You have no arguments. You have nothing. So you want to make me seen as a bad person who's gonna say, oh, if my child tomorrow became entitled to that ideology and start to say like bullshit like that, why would I react? This is not an argument. Please talk about arguments on facts, research, stuff that has been proven, not whatever possibilities of something that may or may not happen. This is not a real argument. We don't talk about supposition when we try to give an argument.
I mean, I would obviously love my children, and I would try to do what's best for my children. And the best thing that I could do to be respectful and also to be conducive to their flourishing is to tell them the truth, which is that they're not really girls.
Oh, come on.
Yes, I would tell them the truth. If you love your children, you don't want them to think about something that is wrong. You will not caution them and protect them even if they're doing something bad. It's not because if your child is committing murders, you're not gonna lie to him and say, oh, you're doing something great. You're gonna call the police and you're gonna say, I'm sorry, my child just committed a murder, and you're gonna try to love your child even if you went to something bad, but you're not gonna protect him for the reality just because you don't want to look bad. It's still going to be your child, and your child should be entitled to the truth the same way anyone else should be entitled to the truth. Anyway, this is just like the idealism of those people. They would just go through anything or any arguments, what they call arguments, which is basically nothing, just opinions and subjectivities, to just justify everything. She has given enough facts. She has given no arguments into her claim. She just came here and she says she's entitled and privileged because she's black and she's a transgender woman who apparently is, because she's black and a man who became a woman in her mind, she has more privilege than anyone else, and then she should not be interrupted, and she should be able to say those things because she's that. You just literally come here and demanding stuff when you're not of that. You're not a woman yourself. You have no understanding. And she said you don't understand anything that is happening. You also don't understand anything that happening, because unless if I am mistaken, you were born a man and you don't even know what is a woman yourself. You have never been living that one. You have no lived experience of being a woman, because you are not. You're a man. And just like him, you have nothing to say about women. So the fact that you decided to change your own appearance, even again, it's not pretty well done, because you really still look like a dude. It's not giving you any right to come here and to proclaim everything about women's space, because you're not a woman, you're just a man getting into women's space yourself. But we're gonna stop here in this video. I'm gonna come back with the second part, because this subject on transgenderism is so big and so huge. I really want to give like as much arguments as possible. We're gonna come back with the second part, and we're gonna talk about women. Now we're talking about men. Those both are videos where men pretending to be women, talking about the women's space, which is funny for me because you're still men. But now we're gonna talk in the next episode about women, born women, defending men and telling that they're actually above them because they're more women than they are, which is insane. Repeat that one more time. Women, born women, are coming and saying that men who pretend to be women are more women than them. Insane. What the hell's happening to your mind? Please don't talk about me. Please don't use woman, because you're putting all of us into your stupidity. I don't want to be part of that. Leave me alone. Leave me out of that. But for this episode, we're done here. I hope you guys like this video. Please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Any thoughts you have on the subject. And of course, subscribe to that channel. We are here to make more and more videos. And I will appreciate you to join and motivate me to keep going on with my video. I will see you on the next one. You guys take care. Bye, my populace.